All right, I think we're set.
It's gonna be great. Ah, it's happening.
All right, hey everyone.
Hi.
How are you guys doing? Thank you for joining us for the first time or for coming back. We appreciate it. My name is Jordan. I use he, him pronouns. I'm the editorial intern here at NaNoWriMo. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Shelby Gibbs. I'm the operations director. My pronouns are she, her. What else? What else do I say, Jordan? I've done many of these over the years, but I haven't joined in a while. So I'm very excited to be back. Thank you for having me, Jordan, and all of our participants.
Yes, thank you so much for joining me. It's always more fun with a couple of people here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us. We go from roughly 1:30 to 2:30. We'll be here for about an hour. If you're new to this, I'm going to provide some writing prompts. So the whole purpose of this hour is just to sit down and dedicate some time to writing. The writing prompts are there if you want them. You know, sometimes it can be helpful to have something like that. But if you're working on something and you want to keep working on that, or if you want to take part of the prompt and then change it up a little, whatever you want to do is cool. The whole point of being here is to be with your writing community and to just, get your creative juices flowing. So just enjoy it. Just try to relax and have fun. And then we're gonna be trying to follow along in the chat as well. So if you want to give us a shout out, if you want to say where you're coming from, tell us a little bit about what's going on there. Talk to each other. If you have done this before and you want to, help answer some questions, that's always fantastic. So please feel free to join in and participate as much or as little as you want. Whenever we finish a writing sprint, you're welcome to, share some of what you've written or even some word counts, whatever you like. You don't have to. Just be here and enjoy. And then Shelby, is there anything that you'd like to tell us about as far as other stuff that's going on with us this week?
Yeah, so we're about halfway through April, which is halfway through Camp NaNoWriMo. That's it. Like, that's the big thing right now. That's not it, but that's the big thing. If you are here, maybe you are already working on your Camp NaNoWriMo project. If you're here and you haven't started your Camp NaNoWriMo project, no big deal. Camp NaNoWriMo has a variable word count goal, and you can start anytime and set your word count goal for as high or as low as you want it to, and it is never too late. You can head on over to the NaNoWriMo.org website and start your project there. We also have a Camp Counselor tweet chat on Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific Coast time. Join us on Twitter over there. They're always really great. Our camp counselors always have excellent information and advice for writers, no matter what stage you're at. Please join us for that. And last but not least, we are running a monthly donor drive. So if you have supported NaNoWriMo in the past, thank you so much. If you've thought about it, this would be a really great opportunity for you to give a small amount every month. We have monthly donations starting at $5. All the way up to, I think, 100 a month, but you, as little or as much as you would like to give, we will appreciate it. If you would like to join, that's at our store. I think that's it. I think that's what's going on right now.
Not that we're struggling or anything, but we
do
a lot of stuff, planned for you guys, and we want to be able to fund all of that. So if you're able to, we appreciate every little bit that you can throw in, and it all goes to you guys. That's our mission. We're mission-based here. So thank you so much, Shelby. I appreciate that. That was perfect. Okay. Well, how are you guys doing out there? Let's see where you're coming from.
All over.
Hi from the UK, from Letitia Jones. Awesome. Thank you for joining us. What time is it in the UK? It's like 9:35 p.m. looks like. Wow. Thank you for coming.
Some night owls.
Yeah, that would be me as well. Robin Wilkinson is from Aloha, or say Aloha, Oregon. Or is that a place? Aloha. Is that an actual place name? Hi, all from Aloha, Oregon. It might be. Yeah, I must be. I'm from Oregon. I should know that. No, I was in Medford for many years growing up. So thank you for joining us. Let's see. Christine Rodriguez, greetings from Miami, Florida. Fantastic. Thank you. Misty Kate, you're back. Thank you for joining us again, coming from Sacramento. Well,
I love Sacramento.
Yeah, Sacramento.
It's a fun place.
Uh-huh. Are you in Berkeley, Shelby?
I am in Oakland, and I saw there were a couple other writers also in Oakland, so I'm just a hop skipping away.
Awesome. Thank you guys for joining us. Yeah, I am actually not exactly in the Bay. I'm kind of like in the North Bay, actually, in a little kind of rural mountain community right now. So it's pretty nice. The sun's been out. There's been gorgeous puffy clouds, but it was getting a little overcast. So I have no idea what will happen. That's the weather for you.
We're in the midst of our allergy season in the Bay Area. So
yeah,
that's
a
fun.
problem. That's a problem for me as well.
Yeah.
Oh, hi everybody. Thank you so much for waving.
I think have a couple people from New Zealand.
Oh yeah, I saw that before too. Yeah. Are they back? Thank you guys. Thank you for coming back, and thank you for spreading the word. These are so much fun with more people. So I really appreciate it. I don't get to read all of the chat as we're going along, but I love to go back and read it. So I really enjoy everything that you guys throw out at us. Thank you. All right. Well, today we should probably get going. I have come up with a script for you today that was actually inspired by one of you guys, something you said last week. And that was, you guys were talking about how hard it can be to write characters that are totally different from, ourselves. And just what a challenge it can be when you don't really think that way or relate to the person that you're writing. So I thought that was something we should really take and run with for a little while, because I think it's something we all struggle with. We all have that challenge. And it would be good to spend a little time, thinking about it, trying to develop that muscle, so to speak. So today is Opposite Character Day. So for that, I want to do a little bit of a warm up for about 5 minutes. And I want everyone to just take 5 minutes to imagine this character that is your opposite. So create or outline a character that is the exact opposite of you. And just imagine what that would be like. How do they dress? How do they act or behave? How do they interact with other people? What makes them different from you? And just, take 5 minutes and sketch that out a little bit. Have some fun with it. So Shelby, are you going to time us?
Yes, I will. So we have 5 minutes for this first sprint.
Yeah.
And I'll try to give a minute warning once we get there.
That's perfect. Yeah, this is going to be kind of a warm up. So just kind of get your feet wet, and I'll let Shelby let us know when, and she's going to warn us when we're just about there and when the time's up.
Great. All right. We'll start in 3, 2, 1, right. And we've got about a minute left.
Thank you.
And that's time.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Well, how did everyone feel about that? How did that go?
I saw Catherine advised everybody that you don't have to follow the prompts, which is it's always a useful thing to keep in mind if looking at it is overwhelming.
Yeah, totally. If you're joining us late, just a reminder that the prompts are just there if you want them. If you need some inspiration or you need a little bit of perimeters to work with, that's what they're there for. But if you don't want them, if you want to continue working on what you've got, or you want to play with them a little bit, it's totally up to you. So just have fun with it. Mark Spector says that was relatively easy for me, at least. Brooke Rule got 201 words. Zara Wright's got 316 words. Great job, guys. Man, that's great. I'm terrible at word counts. I usually write very few words, but I'm usually I spend most of my time thinking. So, what about you, Shelby? What is your process like?
It really depends. If I am typing it out, I tend to go back a lot more, but if I write by hand, I can kind of zone out and just focus on what I'm writing as I'm writing it. Mm-hmm. But it's a toll on your body to write by hand. So I write a bit faster.
It's harder to come up with your word counts too when you do that.
Yeah. There was one time when I did, I think, count every single word, and that's a process in and of itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you just gotta. Page number averages are totally fine, I think, for hand counts.
Right? Page numbers are great.
Yeah.
Especially if they're small pages.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Bailey says, my opposite is a lot more put together than I am. I can relate to that, Bailey. That is great. Great job, you guys. I'm glad you're having fun with it, or if you're just here and just focusing and enjoying the community, that's awesome as well. So thank you for joining us. Yeah, Lindsay Werner says, it depends on when we start. If I've thought beforehand, I go really fast, and if I have to think, not as much. That's me as well. Yeah. I end up doing a lot of thinking, even for the little things. So.
Oh, that's smart. Someone, CB394 said, if I'm writing by hand, I count 20 words at a time and circle the 20th word. That is highly logical. Thank you for that tip. I will be using that.
Yeah, that is good. That's good thinking. If you know, if you've done it a few times, then you can definitely get that down. So
yeah.
Good tip. Thank you for throwing that out there to everyone. Zara Wright says, I literally never follow the prompts unless it will fit into my story, which is totally cool. I would be the same way. We had somebody last week that was like, this perfectly fits with what I'm doing already. It was like, yay. And it's wonderful if that can just be synchronistic like that. But if not, the point is just to write. That's the main thing.
I do think if you're stuck somewhere and you get a prompt and it doesn't feel like it fits really well into your story, it can get your brain going in a way to try to make it fit. And then you maybe don't end up answering the prompt, but it might get your story going in a totally different way. I had one virtual write-in where I was sitting in on it and I was writing along, and I had a novel idea in that virtual write-in. And I was like, wow, guess I'm gonna participate this month. I wasn't expecting that. So
that's fantastic.
Prompts can be helpful or very additional. It just depends.
Yeah, no, especially if you're stuck with your story, it can be really helpful to just kind of take a break from that, or you think you're taking a break and then maybe it weaves back in, but yeah, that's kind of what I would use them for myself. Yeah. And just to, like you say, get some new ideas going.
Yeah.
Hannah M says, I took my main characters and did a character study, their opposite qualities, different childhoods, how that affects their relationship, how it drives them together, and how they mesh together regardless. That's awesome. You can kind of use it like that, like just almost a homework assignment, how to flesh your characters out more. So yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you guys. I appreciate everybody just going along and having fun. This is great. Yeah, Nile Woman says, I try to make the prompts relate to my story. That way I at least have some writing on my project done. Exactly. Yeah, even if it's just background work, that's perfect. Alley Cat 107 says, I'm writing fan fiction for my camp project. I'm behind and trying to catch up, LOL. Might also work on homework too. That is also welcome. Thank you for joining us and just being part of it. That's fantastic. All right. Well, should we start digging into the next prompt?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right. As writers, we understand that everyone has a unique history that helps shape who they are. Now that we've come up with a few characteristics to attribute to our character, let's think about how they got this way. Take 10 minutes and write a scene that lays some foundation for why your character has a particular habit, attitude, or style. All right.
I will keep time again. And since this is a 10-minute prompt, I'll try to give a halfway warning and then also a 1-minute mark as well.
That'll be perfect.
So we'll start our 10-minute sprint now.
Yeah, and remember, use it or don't, just have fun.
We are about halfway through and have about 5 minutes left.
Thank you.
We have 1 minute left.
Okay, thank you.
That is time.
Thank you.
Yeah. How'd everybody do?
Yeah, how are you guys doing? Let's take a look. Alex says, I just killed off a character. Whoops.
Don't you hate it when that happens?
I just love the whoops. Like, that wasn't expected at all.
It's always funny when it feels like an accident.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no, I didn't think that was coming up.
It's funny how
Alas.
that happens too. uh, oh yeah, Shiloh M says, sometimes in disliking prompts, I find the thing that I actually want to write about. That works. That's brilliant. But that's absolutely true. Yeah, if you don't like the prompt, then what is it you don't like? You know, maybe it'll help you figure out what you really want to write about. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Shiloh. That's very useful.
Oh, Alex has corrected us and it was totally intentional.
Well, that's a relief, Alex. Thank you. Otherwise, you were going to have to write a resurrection. How'd that go for you, Shelby?
I enjoyed that. I think it's you mentioned this a bit in the last discussion, but that like taking the time to write the sort of the backstory and the like underneath what you're actually writing is something that I struggle with in my own writing, but I always appreciate it in other people's books. Like I love a book where you can tell that there is stuff happening that we don't know about, and we don't have to know, but just like I like the idea of a history beneath the book.
Yeah, there's an undercurrent, and it's actually like subtly affecting things that you don't necessarily need to be overtly aware of, but it adds so much depth to it.
And that's I love all of these prompts for this session, Jordan. I think you did a great job.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's an interesting prompt too, because like it can go in a few different directions. You know, I was thinking like on one hand, I could be working on the characters that I feel like are opposite from me in the ways that I want to be, you know, that I aspire to be. And so that's an interesting exercise. But I tend to take it the opposite direction and focus on like my villains and the people that are just like my antithesis. And it's something like I have, you know, villains to sort of varying degrees in my story. I have some that are like me when I'm at my worst, you know, and they're at least relatable. But then there's a few that are just like the worst, you know, people, and I don't even want to write them because it's just like, oh, it's too hard. I don't like that. And so that's kind of like what the purpose of this is for me, is to actually force myself to spend some time, you know, thinking about, you know, how did this person that I dislike get the way they are, and how can I make them more real and more dynamic, you know?
Yeah, because I think it's really hard to write characters that aren't all bad all the time or all good all the time. I struggle with that, where I'm like, if you're a good character in one of my novels, I'm like, you have to be like the goodest, the like most wonderful. No one is like that. And it feels so like just meaningless at that point. So yeah,
that's another thing. You could also just think about like how to make one character, you know, more dynamic, because people are complex. And so you could think about, I mean, I know I personally have plenty of things where I contradict myself, you know, and, you know, I have a very light and bubbly side, and I can get very like serious and kind of morose, you know, so, and even in the things that I like, you know, it depends on my mood. So it can really be something to think about, like, why would a character be, you know, one way at one time and another way at another time, and how can you make that make sense, you know?
Yeah.
So what else are we doing here, guys? I'm just kind of scrolling back. Oh, Tyra Kabugu? I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right, but she says, or he, Tyra is I don't know. They didn't really think about it, and it's amazing what my mind threw on the paper. I just created the perfect anti-hero. Yay!
Anti-heroes are hard.
Yeah, but I love anti-heroes. That's one of my favorites. Actually.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, I think that's the like most well-rounded way to write a character, is like We're all the anti-heroes of our own story, are we not?
Exactly. Like we're all a quote unquote villain at times, you know. But that doesn't mean we're like inherently bad. Just I know I can be sort of like the villain in my parents' life once in a while, and they can be fine, you know? Or your kids or whatever, you know. Oh, that's great. I'm glad that that worked. Savvy Book Review says, I got like 3 words, but gave my cat some very thorough belly rubs. And that's always worthwhile as well. Your cat is kind of your muse, so you got to keep him happy. Rose LaFlesh says, the main conflict in my book is how the main character wants connections, but feels everyone deserves more than she does. Oh. That sounds complicated. Yeah.
And Ashley Briggs says it's so hard to not go on a tangent with side characters when I'm trying to focus. I say take the tangent, do it, see what happens.
I know sometimes like you think you're taking a tangent and it ends up being like a really important part of the story too. I actually did. I had like a side character that was not supposed to be the most important, and then they became the most.
That's part of the big NaNoWriMo lore is the Night Circus. That very popular novel was written during NaNoWriMo, and the author, it turns out the original novel that she wrote for NaNoWriMo was not the Night Circus, but there was one scene where everyone went to a circus.
Oh, wow.
And that scene became her entire novel that was then published, and I think turned into a movie and all that stuff. And that's like, that was such a big deal. And yeah, tangents, not a bad thing in your draft.
No, definitely not. As long as you're writing, you're thinking about it, you just don't know what it's going to grow into. So Sarah Wright says, kitties are totally the best procrastination. Yeah, they're a big one for me too. Sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's like, no, I'm really trying to work here. But maybe he's right. I needed a break. Yeah. Sid Johnson says, just write a companion novel like me. See, you can always do that. You can have several projects as long as you're writing. Luna Cullen says, my dog licks my hand and completely covers my keyboard when she wants me to pet her.
Yeah.
Yeah, they know how to get our attention.
It's like they're trained to do it somehow.
Oh, they've learned.
Yeah.
My cat is still really young, and he's like trying to figure out the best way to manipulate me. So he's starting to figure out that if he just gets up on the desk and like knocks stuff over, I'm just going to put him out and ignore him.
Have you seen those photos of cats where it's like, oh, cats, they just want to imitate you, and that's why they get on your computer. So if you make them like a mini computer, they'll sit at it and they'll do work.
Oh my gosh.
Alongside you. I don't know if that's real. I don't have a cat, so I can't test this theory, but I would really appreciate it if someone out there with a cat attempted that. Get back to me. Let me know.
I have limited space, but I would love to try that just for science.
It's for science.
Right.
Yeah, I have a very hyperactive puppy who would tear a mini computer apart.
Yeah. It would be actually kind of cool if like you had an old one that didn't work anymore. You could just set up next to you and see.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you could plug it in and it warmed up.
Oh, I'm sure a cat would love that.
As their own personal heating pad. Or maybe I could get like a heating pad and put a drawing of a keyboard in front of it and, you know, convince them that's what that really is. That's their own personal computer.
Yeah.
Well, I did want to ask you guys on the subject of writing.
You go.
I wanted to ask like how you guys, or you Shelby, how do you write characters that aren't like you? I mean, we all have to do this, whether it's a different gender from ourselves or somebody that's from a different culture or a different age. You know, there's so many times when this comes up for us as writers. And I just was curious, like, how do you guys, you know, have you come up with any techniques for that?
Me personally, I will often pull from traits of people that I know.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times my characters are different compilations of various friends or acquaintances, or like the personalities that I impose on people that I don't know, but that I see on the street regularly. Yeah, so part of it is like observing real people in your life. Part of it is just like an imagination. Like, who would you imagine someone to be? And I find that to be very fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah, my brain goes down that way all the time, you know, looking at people and just wondering about what's going on with them. But I think a lot of my sort of ability to kind of get into their mindset, or at least not theirs for real, but into the mindsets of people that I think are completely dissimilar from me, a lot of it just comes from having read a lot, you know, and read, you know, what other writers, you know, what other people's perspectives are, and how they came to be the way that they are, think the way that they think. So just reading, you know, can be really, really helpful with that for me. But
definitely, I agree. Yeah.
What does anyone else, if you guys have like tips or anything like that, be sure to share them in the chat as well.
Friends, exes, and archetypes that she likes. Ashley Briggs. Yes.
Yeah, and Jessica Kazi says, I write characters that aren't like me through research, particularly other books and TV shows. Yeah, TV shows are another one that really helped you, you know, see, it helps expose you to people that are just different, you know, totally. I love, actually, one of my favorite things is watching television like from other cultures, you know, especially it's great with the internet. You can get that a lot more easily. In the old days, I actually had to import like VHS tapes in order to see that kind of thing. But it was always really illuminating. I mean, it's fun to see like how people are universal and how, you know, we're also a product of our unique cultures. Yeah. Holly and Mistletoe says, I base characters on people I know. Plus college degree in sociology. That's probably helpful too.
That is smart.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Anything like sociology, psychology, things like that would probably be really, I mean, even if you're not getting a degree, you can always just like go online and read, you know, papers and stuff.
Yeah. There was a time when I once mapped out the entire like astrological chart of my main characters. Like,
oh my gosh,
okay,
yeah,
if they were like
exercise.
this sun sign and this moon sign, what would they be like? I am not an astrologer, so I don't think I did that perfectly well, but it was a fun, place to start, because then you get to like pick a birthday and
no, it has like a whole framework kind of laid out for you. So that's actually a really great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on Etsy the other day, and I found a place that will make you a necklace with the moon in whatever phase it was when you were born, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, God, I never thought about that. So I went and I was like, what was the moon doing when I was born? And naturally, there's all this like stuff associated with, you know, how that has affected your personality. So that's another way you could like, well, what was the moon doing when my character was born? And then just go see what it says about that. Or there's also, like, I don't know if this site is still around. I think it is. Calibrians is another one that like tells you about yourself or a character based on their name. It like extrapolates all kinds of stuff. So you could go like plug. I used to do this all the time. Go plug in like a character name that you're considering and see what it says about the character.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm like not like a hardcore believer in anything like that, but I love it for the, you know, it's like a prompt. It gives you stuff to go on.
Totally.
So
speaking of which, should we begin the next prompt? I think this is our last one.
I think we're getting close. So we're gonna move on to our last sprint here. So let me see. I was having a little trouble with my document wasn't showing me my script. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay, so here's the final prompt. And again, we're gonna take 10 minutes. And once again, like I said, you don't need to use this prompt. You can use some of this prompt, or you can come up with something totally the opposite. That would be perfect because it's opposite day here on our virtual write-in. So use bits of this, use all of this, or use none of this. Go do your homework if that's what you need to be doing. But just, yeah, spend the next 10 minutes thinking or writing about your character's story. And here's the prompt. Take a scene from your life and write it down, but with your character standing in for you. And then just discover, how does this substitution alter the situation or change the outcome of that event that you remember? And see if this exercise can help you discover places where you might intersect with your character, as well as where you diverge. Do you aspire to be like them, or do you ever entertain similar thoughts during particular moods? Or do you draw inspiration from those? Can you draw inspiration from the overlaps and help make your character more vivid that way? So once again, write a prompt or write a scene from your life. I'm giving you the prompt. Write a scene from your life, but with your character standing in as you, and see how it changes what happens.
All right, and I will count us down again. And 3, 2, 1, right. We are halfway through and have 5 minutes left.
Okay, thank you.
We have 1 minute left.
Okay.
right, and that's it.
All right. Well, how did that go for everyone? Hopefully you got a little bit of inspiration, or you just got more in the mood to write. How about you, Shelby? Did that work out?
I kind of struggled to think of like what scene from my life, like what do you choose?
Maybe that's a little too wide open.
I think especially in the past year when life looks so different from the way we are maybe used to it looking.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know why, but for me, I like immediately went to one particular moment in my childhood. I have no, like, there's so many things. I have no idea what made that one stand out to me. But my character that I'm working on is a lot more combative than I am. And it was like a family situation, like at the holidays, and I was not being like social enough for my dad's pleasure, you know. And so, like I say, my character that I'm writing is much more combative, and consequently was a lot more vocal about how he and I'm not sure if it's a good thing.
Yeah, how did that work out for your character in the end?
I mean, we won't know for a while exactly how everything will fall out, but it doesn't look good right now.
Yeah. Pros and cons to every action and reaction.
So that's fun. But it is a good exercise. It's definitely interesting to think about. So let's see how everyone else is doing with this.
Yeah.
Okay. Narcissa Malfoy says she got 219 words down. That's great. Absolutely wonderful. Oh, wow. Quoted Bullet says, I just reached over 80,000 words on my novel as a whole.
Oh my gosh, congrats.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's incredible. Good job. Oh, wow. King Starfish, 692 words. Whew, that's amazing. CLF says, hard to find a scene at first, but when chosen went quick, that's good. I'm glad you guys are getting some fun out of this and going along. Thank you. Ellen Porter says, that took an interesting twist. As some of you may know, I'm writing historical fiction. The character I was writing was born 82 years before I was, but I have him interacting with me when I was 4. Ooh, I like
that's
that.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds very interesting.
Really putting yourself in the story.
Well, and that's a really good way to make for, even if you're working on something like she said, or that is historical and happened, you know, outside of your experience, you can still combine it with parts of your experience.
Yeah.
Robin Wilkinson said, her childhood play is different from mine, but I had both moments start with a family member walking in on her play and changing it by entering it. Yeah, that would, any little thing can change the result pretty substantially. Even if the characters are the same, you know, different outcome.
Yeah. And Alex just passed 11,000 words for camp.
Nice, good job. 11,000. Wow. Well done. I think we're only like halfway through.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Rose LaFleche says, I wrote about 335 words. My main character is being interviewed by the character from Prompt 1. I wrote how I respond to the question, why do you want to work with us? Oh, that sounds... Yeah. There's multiple reasons why we could benefit from thinking about that one. Whether that's for our writing or for an actual interview. I'm scrolling back a little here. Yeah, Probably Leaving said they sometimes use tarot cards to create characters. That's another one.
That's interesting.
It's fun and pretty interesting in what types of traits come up and how they mix. Yeah, for sure. And Bridget Stargart says, to make my characters complex, I like to choose two opposing traits and give the characters both of them. It prevents them from being too flat, and sometimes the traits stick and sometimes not.
That's really good advice.
Yeah, that's going to make them a lot more believable. I mean, that's certainly how I think I am anyway.
I think that would also be such a smart way to show character development of like, you might start in one place, but that is not like the entire story for that particular character.
Well, yeah, exactly. Or another thing to think about is how is your character going to evolve, you know?
Yeah.
So I mean, that might be what you were saying, but yeah, they'll start in one way and then they can end up quite different by the end of it. So,
Yeah.
you know, just thinking about how they get from point A to point B can be really useful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Tyra Kabuga said, start from a very basic item like a fallen leaf and imagine it had a personality, brand, or imagery. Do it all.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is truly starting from the ground up. I like that.
Yeah. But I actually like that, you know, the idea of just taking, you know, you can do an animal or an inanimate object like a leaf. That's a good one. Something in nature or even something in your household, you know, household item. And what kind of character you would attribute to that, you know, that can be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we got to wrap up pretty quick here. But good job, guys. It looks like everyone had a lot of fun with this. Hopefully it got you thinking. You know, hopefully you built on a character that maybe you hadn't thought of before, or fleshed out one that you were already working on, or maybe you did something, you got a little work done on something else, or just enjoyed the community. But thank you so much for coming and joining us and participating with us. And Shelby, is there anything else we want to remind them about?
Yeah, thank you all for joining us. We have a camp counselor tweet chat on Friday at 1 o'clock Pacific time. We also have our monthly donor drive in our store, and Camp NaNoWriMo is going all through April. So sign up on nanowrimo.org if you haven't already. And if you miss April, it'll come back around in July. So we look forward to writing with you very soon.
Yes, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to participate with us. I will be here next week at the same time from 1:30 to 2:30. I'll probably have another guest, so come on back. Just have fun with me, and yeah, subscribe so you'll get those little notifications and don't miss it. Thank you guys so much for coming and joining us today. We'll